Oh, wow. I haven't seen that in years. Do you know who that used to belong to, Sarah? When I first met your mother, she loved nothing more than dancing. She was the most beautiful dancer I had ever seen. She told me once, before she started dancing, when she was about your age, someone gave this to her as a gift. She said it was her most favorite toy because anytime she felt alone, she closed her eyes and believed that this was real. She felt like she had a true friend. Between you and me, I don't think she'd mind if you hang on to it. I love you, baby girl. I'm gonna head downstairs with the rest of these decorations. Don't stay up here too long.
Start this Believe series, of course, it's not about what you might be watching on your movies, like The Bell Still Ringing. Anybody know what movie that's from? Bell Still Rings for me. What movie is that? No. The Bell, that's an Angel Gets Their Wings. Good try. Polar Express, right? The bell still rings for me because why? You believe, right? You still believe. All the movies, they're fun to watch and it's fun to believe. We all want to believe and we try to believe. Here's the problem is that life gets in the way and life makes it hard to believe. I was probably not the only one because I already talked to somebody that said, how you doing? And I was like, it's been a week. And they're like, yes, it's been a week. And I don't know if you're like me, but it's been a week here. Sickness hit our house on Wednesday evening, and I bounced back and came back to life on Friday, and still battling a little bit here. You notice I had my awesome singers with me. Crystal is not quite yet back to life, so it was tough to just, we hung in there, hopefully without her, and but so it's tough when, and for those of you that didn't know, I had surgery last week, and I shared a testimony of how my recovery is much better. But it's like, it just seems like, okay, I made it out of surgery. Woohoo, praise the Lord. Okay, now you're going to get sick. You know, it just seems like sometimes life just wants to hold us down and beat us down. You make it just out of something, and you want to believe, and it's hard to believe. When we need God the most, sometimes, where is He? Where is God? Why do we need faith to believe in this God? Why can't it just be obvious, right? Why can't it just be like, hey, just hit me over the head, God? Like I need a burning bush moment, whether to follow God or know He's real or know He exists, because we look for that obvious kind of like, to make it easy to believe. So let's look at the Bible and the story of God and how He actually interacts with man. It begins with Genesis 1:1, in the beginning, God. You see, it all begins with God. Everything, right? Many want to reject religion. And it's not just that they're uninterested, but they actually think that God and the religion are the problem. They reject because they were of what they were taught, or maybe what they've thought, or what they've grown to think. And I'm sure going through college and just in life, you guys have met these people, right? Somebody that maybe once believed, now they don't believe. And they're struggling with their belief. But here's the thing is that they're actually not rejecting our God. They're rejecting a fake God because they're rejecting of who they think God should be or how He should exist, and He's not measuring up to their standards. You see, they think that God is this kind of Santa or a genie that answers every prayer, and He doesn't ever allow bad things to happen. And they're like, oh, I can't line up with a God that doesn't match up to Santa Claus, and Santa Claus is better than him. Do you see? See, so they're not rejecting our God because they don't really truly know our God. They're rejecting a fake view of God. They put their hope in this fake view of God, and so when it falls and it falters, they say, see, He doesn't exist, I'm out. I tried it, doesn't work, I no longer believe. Now, In AD 100, the history of Jesus seemed like folklore. Many in the church were second or third generation Christians, and Christianity was part of their culture and their traditions. The stories had all been heard and passed down. Children were raised to accept the accounts of Jesus while having never truly met someone who had actually heard of and known Jesus personally. So they believed in God, but they ended up living like they didn't. In response to this culture, a very old Apostle John wrote his gospel to provide a fresh eyewitness account of the life of Jesus and to persuade his readers to believe. He starts his gospel in 1:1, John 1:1. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. I get goosebumps when I think about the way the Bible starts and the way John starts his. He's like, Jesus was there in the beginning. You see, it's all about him, and he's bringing that to fruition. And when he's wrapping up in the second to last chapter, he's wrapping up the last couple verses in the second to last chapter in John 20, 30, and 31. This is our text for today. Jesus performed many other signs in the presence of his disciples, which are not recorded in this book. But these are written that you may believe that Jesus is the Messiah, the Son of God, and that by believing you may have life in his name. Amen? John challenged his readers to no longer see Jesus as a fictional character in a fun story, but to believe confidently and follow him as a real, true, and living God. This was John's whole purpose. So the big idea this morning is to live by faith in God. That's what we're called to do, is to live by faith in God. All of humanity lives by faith. All of humanity. They live by faith, either in God or in no God. You see, they put faith in no God. You have to put faith. They're putting faith actually in nothing. That's where their faith is being put, into nothing. So they believe that everything came from nothing. Or they believe that nothing created nothing. And they believe that life came from no life. You understand? No meaning or value to life because life is a cosmic accident. So this is what they believe. All assumptions require a high level of faith. All assumptions require some sort of faith, right? And so they're actually allegiant to that assumption also. They give faith and allegiance to this, something that's actually unknown to them. So you ready for this? Many who don't believe in God live their lives like believers. Okay? Life has meaning, significance, purpose, value. Death is wrong, and they're kind of focused, and they're living their lives in a way that's kind of like a believer should. Sadly, many believers live their lives like atheists. Their belief doesn't change how they live every day. You see, we want our belief to change. Life as we desire is impossible to live the type of life that we really truly want to live, because it's impossible because of sin. Sin sabotages our lives and separates us from God and wrecks our lives, destroys our purpose. It leaves us headed towards eternal ruin, and instead of heading towards eternal life, we're heading toward eternal death. But God sent Jesus. John 20:31 says, but these are written that you may believe that Jesus is the Messiah, the Son of God. This Messiah, the Word, became flesh and dwelt among us. So live by faith in God. Faith in the one true living God means we're not alone. You know, sometimes we go through life and we believe the lie, you're not alone. I couldn't help I was reading my devotion. I got to share with you guys. Just like I didn't plan this or anything, but I was reading my devotion the other day, and it just cracked me up because I thought of Will Ferrell in the middle of my devotion, because it was talking actually about the enemy and him just being a liar and him just being, and I thought of Will Ferrell. You sit on a throne of lies. Some of y'all need to get Will Ferrell on the enemy once in a while and tell him with the same sort of passion that Will Ferrell told the fake Santa Claus, right? You sit on a throne of lies. You smell like beef and cheese. Tell the enemy he thinks like beef and cheese. He's a liar. And he wants to lie to you and get you. If he can get you to believe the lie and not the truth, then he wins. But he's a loser, right? So you can call the enemy a loser. Amen. That's right. So listen, we need to recognize that he wants to lie to you and say that you are alone. But you're not alone. John concludes his gospel with this explanation of why he wrote it. That's why he wrote these last lines, is that you may believe that Jesus is the Messiah, the Son of God. He didn't want us to put faith in a fake religion or a fake God or a fake view of who God should be, or this Jesus character that, hey, we haven't really met anybody that knows him. And even now, I'm sure you guys know people that think that Jesus is just made up. They actually believe Jesus didn't exist. They're like, oh, so he's just fabricated. They just heard this. And it becomes something that they think he's some sort of fable. They're just stories, not actually doing the history and the homework of knowing the credibility of the Bible. That there is so much historical evidence and documentation that it's true. That it's true, that he lived and died, and that these words are true. There's so many accounts of it. I mean, students, I'm telling you, tap into some of the studies and the things that you can look up and find the historical documentation, the proof and the historical documents that just time and time again from across the world are proving this to be true. And the enemy just wants us to believe in the lie and the fake religion. So John wanted us to put faith in the person of Jesus. And when we do that, we realize we're not alone. When we put our faith in Jesus, we recognize that he walks with us and he talks with us and he's got a relationship with us. And God made the first move by sending his son to us. Joy to the world. The Lord has come. The Messiah showed up. And here he is. And so it's a celebration. God gives us the best gift ever, spares no expense, lavished us. Who wants to get lavished this Christmas? Yeah, I mean, when was that last time you described how your Christmas presents were? I was lavished with gifts. I like that word, lavished. That's what our God did for you, for us, lavishes us with everything, held nothing back. I mean, actually put himself in a pretty bad situation, right? Crystal and Everett and I were laughing because she went through it to get Everett an Advent calendar. He loves the Lego Advent calendar. We were laughing because it was like Jingle All the Way. I mean, you got to hear this. I can't tell Crystal's story as great as she can, but she was like, after this Advent calendar, Lego Advent calendar, and she walks in, and she was there looking for half an hour, walked out to her car, decided, I'm going to go back and find it. It says there's one in this store, and she goes back, and like this other guy in a Target outfit is holding the last one in Walmart. She's like, oh no, I could have found it before him. It was here. And it was just funny, but she ended up finding a different one, and it was great. It's a great story. But I don't even know why I was telling you that. That's kind of like, what's that? Lavish. That's right. I don't even know why. So. It's like I said, I came to life just Friday, so I'm still getting back here. So God lavishes us with everything and gifts us with all these good things. He spares no expense. He put himself in a bad situation. That's what I'm thinking about. But I think Crystal ran herself to the ground on Friday doing that for Everett, and getting all that because, I was saying Jesus put himself in such a situation because he loves you. She did all that because she loves that guy, and she'll do anything for him. And just like most moms would. Right? And so imagine if our earthly mom and dad, Jesus uses parables like this, if they give good gifts, how much more our Father in heaven? The enemy wants you to believe that God doesn't want to gift you with good things. He wants to lavish you. He already has. He's done everything. He paid for it at Calvary. He did it so you could be alive. You're not alone. Jesus paid it all, full, giving us salvation, love, forgiveness, life. Nothing more that we could ever do but believe by faith. And life wants to make us remember, not believe. Faith is an action, and it's an action that produces a transaction in God's economy. Hebrews 11:6 says, and without faith, it's impossible to please God. Because anyone who comes to him must believe that he exists and that he rewards those who earnestly seek him. Now, that means that we should be going after God like Ralphie goes after a Red Ryder BB gun. Right? Anybody? Some of the younger students are like, what? What is that movie? A Christmas Story is Ralphie, who is actually in Elf. He's one of the head elves, just so you guys know. But he is on this pursuit for this Red Ryder BB gun. This is all this kid wants. He is after it. He's got plans. He's going to go talk to Santa. Santa says, ho, 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 you're going to shoot your eye out, and kicks him down the slide. And, I mean, he's just coming up short. But I think of Ralphie's pursuit after this, to talk about Crystal's pursuit after a Lego advent calendar, to think about sometimes when you've been going out to look for that one item that you want. My day, it was like Cabbage Patch or, right, Kids or something. I don't know. What were some of the crazy things? Like Tickle Me Elmo, right? Anybody remember when Tickle Me Elmo was like the thing to get and people were like losing their mind? Now it's like PS 200s or, 4, 5, 7, 9, 20. It's going to be the next one. It's we want the new phone or the new whatever. And you're like, I found it. When you find it, you're like, yes, I'm a victory. We seek after these things of the world, right? We need to be going after God like that. Christian, we need to go after God like that. That's what Hebrews says, 11:6 says, and without faith it is impossible to please God. Yet the world is beating us down and tricking us into not believing and not having faith and just going through the motions and setting up the decorations and doing what we do and sing the songs, but not actually believe it and accept it in our heart. Without faith, it's impossible to please God, because anyone who comes to him must believe that he exists. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, right? And in Genesis, in the beginning, God. So we must believe that he exists and that he rewards those who earnestly seek him. So in God's economy, there's a reward when we believe. When we have faith, there's a reward. So that means our God, he's good. He's the reward. He is good. He's going to bring about reward. He's good all the time, and we're not alone. So if the enemy's lied to you and made you think and believe you're not alone, we got to believe the truth. And we've got a true God to believe in, and we're not alone. So John 20:31 says, but these are written that you may believe that Jesus is the Messiah, the Son of God, and that by believing you may have life in his name. Faith in the one true living God means we can truly live. John wrote to help those who were living to believe so that they could have true life. Outside of Jesus, humans just exist. We breathe. We live. It's just an existence, breathing, but sin has us heading towards a forever death. But through faith in Jesus, we become truly alive. That's when we actually experience a true life that changes and transforms us. If you're here today, you're probably not an atheist. Maybe you were invited by somebody, and you are. But most likely, you're not. So I'm speaking mostly to the Christian, or at least somebody that knows, like John was talking to people that knew of Jesus, but didn't know many people that had met him. So maybe you're not an atheist, but maybe this morning you're living like one. What do I mean? God doesn't exist when it comes to my day-to-day life. The decisions I make, I don't involve God. Even right now. If God was sitting here, I'm just Joel with a little tickle in my throat and preaching, and you guys are sitting here listening. Some of you are talking. Some of you are falling asleep. No, we all do, right? Imagine God shows up in his splendor. Y'all be like sitting up straight, and I'm not saying you need to do that for me. I'm not God, nowhere near. But we need to live our life for God, as belief in God. You see, sometimes we let our decisions be based on more of an atheistic approach. Nope, no God, not when it comes to my money. I'm all about God and everything, but you lost me there. I don't believe in God when it comes to my sex life. Nope. No God to tell me I have to forgive somebody. Do you understand? And I could go on, but where in your life, you have to answer that. Where in your life are you living actually atheistically? Because you said, no, God, you can't have that part of my life. You see, we've got to surrender everything to him. Do we actually live our lives like we believe in God? And it's quiet in here because that's a strong question. Do we actually believe in God and live like we believe in God? Living means every decision I make is based on my trust in God. Every decision. That means the TV shows, y'all. That means the music. That means the boyfriend, girlfriends. That means the jobs we take and say yes to. That means where we spend our money and what we decide to give to and not give to. That means that we allow him to be in control. Now, why does he want to be in control? Because he wants to bless you with life. He wants to give you a true life and bless you abundantly and lavish you. You see, well, all of a sudden the enemy has us programmed to think, whoa, step back. And we retract because we're like, oh, no, we're going to start thinking. He wants us to think in that fake God that's trying to control us, trying to own us. God's trying to get our money. God's trying to keep me from having fun. God's trying to do, no. All of a sudden, you've switched to a God that I don't know or experience. I experience a God that loves me and wants to protect me and wants me to excel and have fun and be healthy and thrive. None of us are made to love discipline. Does anybody love discipline? Was anybody like a weird kid that if you were a family that got like discipline, spankings, groundings, whatever, you were like, yes, this is awesome. Thank you. I'm so glad that because I broke curfew, I don't get to drive for a week. Thank you. That's going to teach me. I am going to learn my lesson. You're great parents. Anybody like that? Because I definitely wasn't. My parents are here. They can attest to that. Nobody likes discipline. Nobody. We don't sign up for it. We don't enjoy it. It's not something that we're like, yeah, give me that discipline. But a loving parent disciplines. Because I could show you a lot of kids that are kind of a train wreck because parents let them do whatever they want. Not in this church. Of course not. Right? We all got it together. But see, a loving parent doesn't let a kid eat whatever they want, play with whatever they want, watch whatever they want, do whatever they want. Because why? They've got a plan for their child. A loving parent knows what's best. Do you trust God as a loving parent in your life? Because if you're living like an atheist in certain areas, you don't trust him in that area. You're not giving and you're not believing in a one true God to take control of that area and to say, I'm going to give you everything. I'm going to give you all and trust that you're going to take care of me. So living, meaning every decision I make is based on my trust in God, trust Him with every detail, to obey Him. We discover the reality of the Christian faith, not by monitoring other Christians. You understand, too much of the world has been doing that, where they're monitoring each other and they're looking at each other and saying, let me check out this Christian, let me watch them, and if they fail and falter, then I know that there's not a God. They've messed up. We cannot measure our God based on monitoring Christians, because we fail. Oh, church is filled with hypocrites. Duh, because we're all sinners. We're filled, we're saved by the grace and the mercy of Jesus Christ. Now, how should somebody discover the true Christian faith? By meeting the one true God. That's what should change your life. And when it changes and transforms your life, what we do as Christians should become examples of how faith can change a life. My faith in God should change and transform my life. And I need to always be trying to live my life for Him, making decisions based on Him. And I will make bad decisions. Each one of us will. But I've got a cross to run to. And I've got grace that abounds, for there's not a sin too great that His mercy and His grace doesn't spill out to us.